Hi, it's Maxine.
Zico
and Conor.
And this is Slice of Pie,
a podcast where young people chat to musicians and guests about things we care about.
And on today's episode, we're talking with special guest Steph from Pi, as Pi will be celebrating its 20th anniversary this year.
Hell yeah.
Enjoy.
So, this is Slice of Pie.
Yes, sir.
We've got a special guest with us today, the founder. Am I saying it correctly? The founder of Pi?
I actually didn't found it. I didn't find it. I came along a bit afterwards, but I was involved at the start.
The face and the most beautiful face of Pie Factory that we know yet to date.
Oh.
And we're joined by Steph.
Hello, thanks for having me. Am I your first guest?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I'm honoured.
Special guest.
Let's give it a little round of applause.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Come in.
Can we do this every week? Monday pep talk.
Yeah. So we're just doing a little check-in at the moment. So Steph, how are you? And what have you been vibing, digging, thinking about this week?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I've had a good week. I went to the Self-Esteem gig at Winter Gardens and I absolutely loved it. It was such a nice atmosphere.
What sort of music was it?
So she's kind of alternative pop, really interesting. So she's well choreographed. There's a lot of dancing. They had live drums and bass, which was really fun as well. And yeah, it was just so nice to see that place full and the vibe was really positive and it was really nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
I remember going to the Winter Gardens as a kid and it's such an old school venue, isn't it? It's nice to see a bit of life in there, isn't it?
Was it in the bigger room?
It was in the Queen's Hall, so the smaller one.
Okay.
But that was quite nice. It was sort of quite informal and intimate. And it was just so nice, looking around, just seeing so many people having a really lovely time. And
I think that room's nicer at the Winter Gardens. I saw the OCs there. It was really, really intense, but it was really good for that reason.
Was there a mosh pit?
Yeah, I saw...
Was the whole thing a mosh pit?
Basically, yeah. I saw some guy... it's like the floor was concrete. He was really drunk and he kept being taken out by security and just run back round.
That's so funny.
But then he was crowd surfing and they dropped him right on his tailbone. But he just got back up and kept going. But it was...
I wonder what he was on.
Yeah. The next morning he probably wasn't feeling too
Yeah, no, probably not.
Well, apparently the Winter Gardens and other theatres are closing down due to
COVID.
Yeah, the impact of COVID.
Yeah, I've heard that they're closing to sort of to do some refurb, but I'm not sure whether or not the plan is to reopen. I guess it's that classic thing of things and amazing spaces like that being underfunded and underused.
Yeah.
But it should be protected.
It should.
It shouldn't be
It should.
underfunded.
No, it shouldn't. Many things.
Yeah, just like the venue that we're at now, recording this podcast, Philippe that owns it, he's saying that he's into, composing for theatre stuff. And he said it was just crazy over lockdown. There's no work because it's just been...
But that's the craziest thing about it. During lockdown, we were watching stuff. That was our entertainment.
Yeah.
Netflix.
And even though we've been consuming it madly.
Yeah. And the hit on venues has just been phenomenal, hasn't
crazy.
it?
And then I'm going a bit political here, but then even they had the thing to come out and say, oh no, now you have to have this double vaccine passport if you want to get in any venue. And imagine, I don't know, it's just what does that say to artists and DJs that are trying to perform in these venues? And
it definitely felt like mixed messages in terms of certain restrictions in certain places and others feeling like there was less.
But you can go and see the ballet and it just be totally fine and go and drink your champagne with your oysters, darling. And, then, and that was completely...
That what you do, Max?
No way.
Up in Central,
No way. I'm saying I was against it. I want to go to these dirty raves down in Yeah, funny. What about you guys? What have you been digging this week? Or thinking about? What moods, what vibes you've been in?
Can I take
a commercial break?
And now, today's sponsor.
That's brilliant.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Do you need to contact your PA? Just have a little chat.
I'm not answering that without my lawyer present.
Well, for me personally, me and my mum and my friend, we were watching, Medias. She's like Mrs. Brown Boys, but an American version.
Oh, okay.
So she dresses up as is a guy dressing up as a female.
So drag.
And other characters as well.
Okay.
And it was funny. It was It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Definitely give it a watch. Medias, and it has Mrs. Brown's Boys inside
I saw. Oh
it as
yeah, I
well.
actually saw that. I was like, I actually skipped it because I was like, nah, that doesn't.
No, trust me. Just give
Was
it a
it
little
funny?
watch. If you're into like funny writing, because I appreciate watching stuff and being like, yo, someone had to write that.
Yeah, it's
I
fascinating,
love
isn't it?
that.
Like, where does that
And
come
when
from?
I watch movies, I'm just like, who thought that is going to be a movie idea?
Yeah.
Like, were you just sat there having a coffee?
Yeah,
were you just like...
It's one of the characters like acting as well, like to a certain degree of like really good actors, and you're just like, I'm watching EastEnders sometimes, and I'm like, bloody hell, Phil, calm down. Whoa.
Why am I so invested in Phil's
like,
life?
remember when you're younger and you just hate that person, even though the real person is probably lovely.
Yeah.
The actor.
Who was it for you? Was it Phil?
No, who's that guy in the coma right now? In like, do you watch EastEnders?
No,
We
I
need
never.
Zoe. Zoe's really into EastEnders. Yeah.
That guy, he's killed enough people and no one's found out until recently. And then I'm just like,
You really don't like him.
find out. But yeah.
Have you watched League of Gentlemen?
Yes.
What's that?
It's
Long time ago.
It's really, really good. It's probably a bit dark. It's quite a dark comedy, but like it's like where they have it's 4 guys who write it, but 3 of them, or maybe 5 guys who write it, but 4 of them act as all the different characters in the show.
Oh, I love when people do that.
But it's really weird. It's about like a town in the north of England.
Is it funny? Is it funny?
It is funny. Yeah.
Is it
No,
like a
it's
deep
totally
story?
serious.
I mean, it's a bit outdated. Like I think today's standards, it wouldn't be.
It wouldn't
okay.
make it.
No, they've got a character called Papa Lazarou who's in blackface and like steals people's
gosh.
wives and stuff.
Gosh.
But it's like
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that fascinating though? Like how, especially now that things are like recorded and like documented on social media, how some things that seemingly were acceptable in a certain time, now we look at and we'll be like, it's totally wrong.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like, can I just ask you guys a question? How do you feel as young people in the kind of like with social media, with everything recorded, do you feel like a bit of a pressure of like, what if I get something wrong, or what if I, do you know what I mean? Like that's there forever, or is it just so normal to you?
I was actually like speaking about this with my boyfriend the other day. Like he was saying he gets scared to put music out there, and it's just like because he thinks the mates from back at home are going to judge or don't appreciate it. And I'm like, but then why are we doing it for other people's validation? Like if you want to put a story out and get it wrong, it should be okay. Like it's like the thing I'm so passionate about, and I still do it, is use filters. And I'm like, I hate what it's done to body image and like what we have to like think that we have to look like. And as an artist, you want to be the rawest version of yourself possible, and you want that's why your fans want to, buy your music and connect with you, because you're you. And then if we're just using all these filters and stuff, which I still do, and it's so hard to get out of, because you're just like, oh, I don't look like, do you know what I mean? And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's been crazy for that, I think, especially.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the topic? that
Yeah,
we're doing?
totally. Yeah, it's just really interesting because, like, okay, I'm going to show a bit of my age now. So we only had the internet in my actual house when I was about
Not in your straw house.
No, in my straw house. I had a roof when I was about 15, and we could only use it for 30 minutes at a time because there was it was the phone line. So my mum was like, you got 30 minutes. And then they were like, right, Steph. Because and it was all landlines. No one had mobiles. So if they were expecting a call, I had to get off the internet. And it's just so fascinating to me that we're not worlds apart in age, but actually my experience of growing up in Thanet is probably quite
But
different.
that's also I think what's affected parentism, in it. Like parents don't know how to adopt the new ways of like
So true.
It's a lot,
teaching.
isn't it?
'Cause
Yeah.
really and truly in the past 30 years it's dramatically changed. As you can see, like you look at someone thinking having the norm would be a block phone, like a brick. Like,
Yeah, my mum
in your
said that. You
hand.
said blocks. Yeah.
We as like Gen Z.
Yeah, we're Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z. I don't even know all these numbers.
I know.
Aren't you a millennial?
I'm
I'm a Gen
I'm
Z.
a millennial. I'm an
you're-
elder millennial.
I know, we're Gen
I
Z
don't know.
then.
I'm
think-
18.
That's all I know.
That's all I
Just about.
know.
You were in the TikTok age though. I wasn't. I guess I am. You're in the
Is that what we're known?
Is it?
Do you know what I mean? Like in the
I feel like
very much
TikTok
Go
age-
to a wine bar. You're like, yeah, can I see your ID, please? Oh,
TikTok.
TikTok age.
No, but do you remember ever messaging on MSN? Did you do that?
Have you heard of?
What is that?
He hasn't heard of
MSN?
Yeah.
I know what
we
it
used
is,
to
I
have
never
chat
used it.
rooms.
What is it?
Oh
So
my
we
God,
used to
I'm
have to
old
log
now.
into a chat room.
I didn't
Yeah.
have friends, so that'd probably be like the reason why.
You made me drop my head.
And I remember, like, because we didn't have phones and stuff, like, when you went on holiday, you had to put a 50p coin in the machine. Like, I was in some, like, resort in Spain, and I was just, like, typing to all my friends and MSN, updating my bio in Spain.
In Spain. In real time.
Yeah.
In Spain.
And it'd give you, like 30 minutes on this 50p
Yeah,
coin.
that's
Do you remember?
fascinating.
That's-
God,
And
I'd rather.
payphones. I used to have to, like, if I wanted to ring someone that I didn't want my mum and dad to find out about, I had to walk down the road with my 10p and phone someone from a payphone.
Payphones nowadays, they're just full of piss now. It's
Yeah,
just,
they're just
I feel like
literal.
that's it.
They're all
Literally.
smashed up,
Yeah, all
aren't they?
smashed
It's sad though because they're so. I like the look of
historic.
payphones.
I know, but I like the old school ones. You know, that
the
red
red ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
they should just
They've
bring
still
them
got
back.
some in
Bring
London,
them back.
right? Bring back payphones.
Whoever you are that makes that.
Well, then what would you
decision.
use them for nowadays?
What about just like you go in and they tell you something nice about yourself?
Yeah.
If you just need someone to be like, hey, I love
Everything's
you.
okay today.
Everything's all right. You're
Steph, we're onto something
Yeah, let's
here.
do it. Pep talk payphones.
Yeah.
It's like a hotline.
Okay, so call
like,
you
hi.
call your lawyer, Connor. We need to get this
Yeah.
patented.
That's really
Anyway.
good. So, inspiration. Have you had any inspiration for the week?
We had a really exciting meeting this week. So, as a charity, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Nice.
And we had our first meeting to sort of dream about how we're going to celebrate and all the cool stuff we're going to do. And it was just really, really nice just listening to like the stories from people and just kind of declaring it the year of the party
Yeah.
after a couple of years of really tough, not being able to party really. Just kind of, dreaming about how we're going to celebrate was really fun.
How was it, like, coping in lockdown as a charity? How was it?
Yeah, it was really challenging. I think in a lot of ways we were quite lucky because we already do quite a lot of stuff on digital platforms. So it's quite straightforward to move stuff online. But also it really hit home just the level of like the gap between some of the poorest people and some of the richest. So for example, like we spent pretty much the first lockdown just delivering food packages and delivering resources physically to people's homes because they didn't have the internet. So while all of us like moved online, there was a whole group of people that just couldn't do that. So it really hit home just that, I don't
For
know.
help and support, that was where we came from the last episode. It's all about
absolutely.
supporting the music, but like that's what you kind of stand for, isn't
Yeah,
it?
totally. And in a way, it was good for us to just be reminded of that. Like underneath all the beautiful stuff in terms of creativity and music and all that cool stuff, there's also like this
Underlying
absolute value that people matter. And as a charity, we'll do whatever it takes to make sure they know it.
And I think you like that is what you guys represent. So like a massive well done for that. And
Oh, thanks, Max.
otherwise we wouldn't have all been a part of it. You know what I mean? And
I joined for end of 2020,
Oh,
the
wow.
Emerging Artists program.
Yeah.
So like it was me and Adam who now works for Pi.
Yeah, big up Adam.
In the Emerging Artists program over Zoom for ages, and I know I've been doing it for a bit longer than originally we were going to plan to get the in-person stuff. But even over online, it was beneficial,
the same,
and I learned lots. And we had it might have been weird, but probably helped a lot of people. And I know we had a talk. It was me, Evan, and Elijah, and you before the Emerging Artists over Zoom about being a young musician. And so it's weird that everything's changed with that.
That feels like a long time ago.
It probably was a long time ago.
It was like 2 years ago.
But it just doesn't. But it's kind of
It's
all
a weird.
blurred.
The timeline of the last 2 years just feels weird, doesn't it?
Well, talking about a very, very long time ago, tell us how it all started. How did the party start?
A very long time ago. Yeah. As a charity, we're a bit older than 20 because I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you're setting up a charity, it actually takes quite a long time and there's quite a lot of process you have to go through. But we picked the date we wanted to celebrate because we had like the choice of about 5 different dates and 2022 felt like the right thing.
Yeah. It's a
But
very
yeah.
spiritual number.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I just feel anyway.
It's a very symmetrical and pleasing number to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, so it actually started with a couple of people who ended up being trustees of Pi for a long time. I'll mention them because they're absolute legends. So Christina McQuaid and Brian Spencer Smith. it started on a desk. We used a hot desk at Thanet District Council, and basically there was a sort of a realisation that in Thanet, in East Kent, there was very little music provision apart from if you could pay and afford to pay for music. So there was music lessons, but there was very little else.
Yeah.
And so, they put in a fundraising bid to Youth Music, who at the time were funding big cities like London, Manchester, places like that to do big programmes of work. So they put in a bid kind of thinking, not sure if we're going to get it or not. And they did. So they got 3 years of funding from Youth Music.
Wow,
And when did that happen?
So 20 years ago, so 2002. 2002. How do you say words? Yeah, 2002.
So some of us wasn't even born.
Older than me and
Born,
Zico.
Zeke.
2003.
Get out of town. You was not born in the
you were
2003.
born.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, that's
Whoa,
actually
I feel old now.
amazing.
Neither me or
That's-
Zico.
Conor, how old are
I'm
you?
2003.
Exactly.
How old was I? So I was just finishing school at that point.
But
I
doesn't
finished.
that show how much of an impact it has? The
Yeah.
everlasting
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, that you're interviewing me. I just feel like I've gone into an alternate universe just for a minute. You're interviewing me, and you weren't born when Pi started. That's so fun. And who's going to be interviewed in the next 20 years?
Wow, that's crazy.
And will I be in a Zimmer frame?
Like, we won't be able to get you up those stairs.
I will not make it up the stairs of
Then you have
Ramsgate
one of
Radio.
those, like, those chairs, stair lifts.
Anyway, so then once they got a really lovely bit of funding from Youth Music, they were based in, I say they because I wasn't yet involved,
Yeah.
but they were based in Margate for a bit, in what's now the Community Pharmacy Gallery. There's like a
Okay.
gallery space. And Caroline tells me that they didn't even have a door on the toilet at the
my
beginning.
gosh.
That's how rough it was, and they had to like really rough it. And then moved to Ramsgate, to the building that is now Big Jelly Studios.
I think that's where I first saw it start,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we were there for about 10 years and then moved to our home where we've been for 2,000 years now. Since 2013, which is the Ramsgate Youth Centre in St Lawrence. So we've kind of moved around a bit and expanded and...
So when did you get involved?
Yeah.
Into so tell us from the beginning of when you got involved.
Yeah, and how?
And then
Yeah.
the way you've leveled up throughout the program.
Leveled up,
Yeah.
see? Okay, so I actually used to go to Pi as a teenager. So when I was about 15 or 16, they used to do a rock school on a Saturday where you could go and get free music lessons. So I got some guitar lessons. I learnt some power chords. And I still, I can pretty much still play. And so that was my first taster of it, just getting like free lessons, and then realising there was this whole community of young people that were really passionate about music. And it was at a time where I didn't really feel like I fitted into many like groups, and I felt a bit lonely. And so I just started getting involved with everything. And quite a lot of it was performance opportunities, and I really appreciated that because there wasn't really that much at that time. So I remember there was some gig down on Ramsgate Harbour where they'd put like a stage where, do you know where Weatherspoons is now? There's a big outdoor stage. Were you there?
Oh my gosh, I've got a picture. I'm literally like 7 years old, and I'm wearing these little like Dunk lookalikes. I was like, there you got fashion. And it was Love Music, Hate Racism. Was that right?
Oh yeah. Oh, so
is
they
that a
did
different one?
That was a couple of years after the first one I did, but they did it like a few years in a row. And
Yeah, it was
so it was stuff like that. We
it
got
was
to
such a good
perform,
turnout.
and it was really fun.
Like it was like hella people there.
And that was your first ever experience on
So
a
that was
stage?
like one of the first gigs I ever played in front of people. Can you do a gig not in front of... Yeah, I guess people can not turn up, can't they?
I mean, the online gigs as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Thanks,
Gigs.
Zeke. That's totally true. But yeah, so that was like my first introduction was actually as a young person growing up in East Kent, becoming part of the community. And then I went away for a gap year, came back and became a trainee workshop leader. I kind of realised that I loved music, not only like the sort of writing and performing bit, but also the sort of working with young people, really loved it. So I became a trainee workshop leader. And I think it could have been when you started coming along, Max. I think it might have been the end of when I was doing that, but to something that Maxine used to come along to when you were what, like 11?
10, 11, ages ago.
Yeah.
But then what's it called? What did you get your inspiration from abroad, or did you know this before you left?
Oh, I didn't
For your
go
gap
abroad
year.
for my gap year. I went to London. It's not that great. Actually, Watford. Not even London. Sorry, Watford. Sorry,
But did
London.
you still get your inspiration from? Where's your inspiration lies
Like to work with young kids and
Yeah,
doing what you
so
do.
to do what you do?
I think my inspiration for music was always there. So music is really part of like the culture that I grew up in. My mum's half Irish, my dad's Greek, and we just had music everywhere. So it was kind of, that bit of it was just there.
Imagine the bangers just playing inside the house.
Yeah, we did. We had, and it was really eclectic as well. Like my dad was really into reggae and soul. My mum was really into folk. It was just really interesting. But anyway, and I think with young people, what I realised is the difference it made to me when I had people believing in me at that age as a musician. And I was like, you know, actually, it's so vital that young people have people like that, especially in places like East Kent, like Thanet, like Dover, where we work, where levels of poverty are high. It's so important that where there's places like that, there's support and care for young people and space for them to be creative and free. So when I sort of put those two things together, I was like, actually, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life in whatever way, with my Zimmer frame, with my chairlift. I will always be doing something like this.
That's so nice.
So, having come through Pi as a young person and now working there, how would you say that it helped you as a young person? How do you feel now working there? You're helping people, and what's your goal for the future with Pi?
Wow, Conor, that is a big question. I love it. Yeah, so my experience coming through Pi and working for Pi, I feel like there's actually a few members of staff that is the same story for them. Like Adam, another little shout out for Adam. He's getting a lot of love today, isn't he? I feel like it really sums up just how much we believe in young people, that at every level, like I've been given opportunities when I probably on paper didn't have the qualifications or experience, but people saw something in me, gave me the space, gave me the support. And I feel like it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to look at an organisation, actually see them doing it. And so for me, it just feels really special. Like this connection with this charity doesn't feel like a job to me. It just feels like what an honour that I get to be part of the same thing that really made a difference in my life. And I guess for the future, I think coming back to what we were talking about earlier, Maxine, like what we realised in lockdown was that we not only want to be loud about music and creativity and all of that cool stuff, we also want to be loud about injustice and social action and making a positive difference. And I think for the next 20 years, that's where I'd like to see us kind of advocating for young people and advocating for people who have been marginalised in some way, you know. So we've got louder about racism, we've got louder about LGBTQ rights and things like that. And I think, yeah, that's the space that I'd love to see us taking up through music and creativity. Like, I'm believing for a better world, and I want Pi to be part of that.
That's beautiful.
And I think even when we all, it's so good because even when we all meet up, we're allowed that open creative space where we can chat about those things, and it's like no judgment. It's just pure, we're just listening to everyone, and it feels so easy. So it's like, yeah, well done for like all of you guys that are setting it up. It's like a pleasure to be a part of it, really. And like just seeing you hear that, it makes me want to go and make $1 million from selling out things.
Please
and just
do.
fund you.
Please do.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And if there are any, you know, £1 million owning people out there listening, please feel free to
Yeah,
donate.
honestly, these guys are.
We want to be
these guys are
here
the
in
shit.
20 years, and that's
Yeah.
what it takes. It takes proper funding. It
yeah.
takes, you know, people who see what we're doing and believe in it and get behind us. And
Yeah, I love that.
that can be in a small way, but that can also be the millionaires. So just feel free.
We'll be able to do you do fundraisers and stuff?
Yeah, we do. And we do, like on our website, there's just donate buttons, and we've got a whole range of merch that's available on our shop. Yeah, so there's quite a few ways that people can support.
So like when we did our gig, that was like a fundraising thing, right?
Yeah, so that particularly, so for example, you'll want some stuff, we keep that separate, so you guys have your own like budget and it doesn't get swallowed up into the rest of the organisation. But yeah, when we're generally fundraising, it's just to keep the organisation running and make sure we're here for another 20 years.
That'd be cool to do another like festival thing out in the summer.
Yeah.
And just get like hella loads of people around.
Looking forward
So
to it.
do we have the opportunity to maybe show us as a collective.
I think there'll definitely be opportunity for Want Some Music to take up some space at that for sure.
So is it local artists part of Pi and also...
And there's quite a few people who have been part of Pi and then have gone on to do really exciting
cool
things.
stuff.
So
true.
we're also wanting this year to be a bit of a cool for
Collaboration,
anyone
yeah.
that's like been part of Pi's journey for
Or
the
if
last
it's
20
affected
years.
them, if Pi's been a part of your family's journey and you know someone, then just hit us up because we're going to have a party of the century.
Yes, we are.
Are we like, is it 2 decades?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 decades.
2 decades,
Wow.
20 years.
It's going to be good.
I've got a question, I think, just to link it back to being a musician. And we talked about funding, and I thought it might be a good chance to ask you, I'm sure you'll have had to have done lots of funding applications. Just for anyone listening, there is loads of funding available for different musicians and charities as well. And I just wanted to ask, are there any advice you'd give to people for when they are applying for that money?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. In terms of my own journey with fundraising, I kind of just had to learn to do it on the job. I don't really have any training. And I think the thing that I've learned over the years of doing it is that people, when you're writing a funding bid, people know if you're being authentic and honest. And I think that's the stuff that translates the best into a funding application. And yeah, you can brush up on like the language that they want to see and how to sort of like format it. But ultimately, if you're really passionate and you care deeply about something enough, I think that comes across. And I would also say to young artists and musicians, like, get in touch with places like Pi who could support. So like that's a big thing in terms of like what you guys are doing with the Emerging Artists program, having someone like Zoe and Adam around that you're like, I've got this thing coming up, can you check it? Like there's places that could support. There's a lot of places in East Kent that are around for young people. So don't be scared to use those channels as well, just to get support.
Okay, well, that's a great answer to
That was a really good question, by the way, Connor.
Yeah, it was Connor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have you done this before? Once. Twice.
Yeah, the last episode.
You got anything to say, Zeke? How did your story with Pi start?
Mine started at a young age. I think Pie Factory had like something to do with like local schools and stuff. I was part of the school choir.
Oh,
And then,
that's really lovely.
What's it called? I was a really good singer before puberty. You know?
That's the quote. And what happened? I mean, not
Balls
puberty,
drops.
but
High notes no more.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so we went down and we had to like make a little song together. Like
Okay.
everyone had to make a
right.
song
Yeah.
as a collective. And all I remember was our teacher, another school, and just us. We're singing in front of a camera in that hall. Do you know that little the space before you get into the studio? That
the main hall at Pi. Yeah.
And that's all I can remember. The first ever experience.
Oh,
And yeah, it was fun. It was about something positive.
that's good.
I
And
love
then
that.
A couple years later, come down here again from living in Whitstable or something, and I just knew no one. Then I made friends, and then these friends was like, everyone was, because you know when you had the DJ there at Harvey.
Oh yeah,
and then
DJ
everyone was-
Skelton.
Yes. And then everyone was just rapping, and then
Oh yeah, that was good times.
that was just fun. It was so busy, and coming back from lockdown. Can you see the change dramatically, or do you think it's going to get busy again like that?
Yeah, I think it is going to get busy again, but we've sort of realised that like over the last 2 years, it's almost like we're starting from scratch, where everything moved online and we did smaller groups of everything. Whereas normally you were introduced by friends and then you would introduce other people and bring them along to Pi. We've basically had 2 years of not that. So we're almost starting from scratch. Like there's a whole generation of young people who would have just walked into the youth centre that we need to let know about it. And we'd sort of, but very much like want people to know we're open. We're there, loads of sessions in the week. It's all free. And we want to see it busy again. It's getting busy on certain nights. But like on a
we want it
Monday night, we
rammed.
want to see it
Yeah.
rammed. That's when it's so fun. Yeah, Monday night's my
I
fave.
remember the day, I think it was a Monday night even when
Yeah.
I came, and it was just like a studio session, and we were like, there's three young singers, and we were all just going in the studio like singing little hooks on guys, like on rappers' tracks, and it was just fun. I remember we had to burn it on discs, guys. This is when we had no, like, I'll just like airdrop it to my laptop. We had to burn it on discs. I had about 100 discs at my house that were just songs that we wrote, and this is...
Have you listened to some of your old songs, and have you got any
my
old
God.
songs?
I could never.
Yeah, I have got some old songs.
Were they
they're-
good though? Can you see the progression?
Oh yeah, can definitely see the progression, and also I think I've got more confident in. So my songwriting experience was quite linked to. So I grew up in church, and a lot of my songwriting and my singing was to do with that world, and I haven't been in that world for a few years, and it's actually been quite interesting for my songwriting, just like letting go of that and being much more experimental and just feeling a bit more free rather than writing for like a specific kind of audience.
Yeah.
So my songs now are quite different from the ones I was writing.
So you quite religious or?
I don't know about religious. I think I would describe myself as spiritual now, but I think I've let go of a lot of what I thought was certain
Beliefs.
and beliefs that
And
I grew up
truths
with
that
and
we,
just
yeah.
like never questioned. I think now I question a lot more. And for me, I'm a bit more like, I'm not sure on a lot of things, but one thing I am sure on is I want to treat people here and now well. That's the one thing. I'm not sure about everything else.
That's
a
so
good way to be.
But while I'm
Yeah,
here,
that
I
is
want to
really
be kind.
nice.
So what type of music would you classify yourself as
Oh, now?
now?
And
tell them what you do. Do you sing? Do you rap? Do you play me?
I would love to rap. Like, that's my dream, Zeke. I
I'll
want to
show
be
you.
like you. But my husband's like, no, you can't. You sound really not good. Yeah, so I mainly sing and write. I play guitar and piano, but voice really is my main instrument. And style-wise, so we're like releasing an EP this year. It's a bit more electronic, alt-pop. There's a bit of a hip-hop vibe to some of it. There's some
that.
beats on it and stuff.
What's
but
the name so we can look?
it's called Limbo.
Limbo.
CC has a nice name as well.
Yeah, that
Oh,
is a
thank you
nice
very much.
name.
Yeah. So where's Limbo? Because I know that little. How low can you go?
Can you It's not that. But that would be a good music video. You've given me an idea.
Is it like being in limbo, like purgatory?
Yeah, like limbo, for me, it's like moving from
English.
one place of like... do you need to...
I don't know.
You got lost on the word purgatory, didn't you?
Purgatory is where you go before you go to hell or heaven, where you're judged.
Fudge. That's a bit deep.
So
the
it's not quite that,
That's
but
my-
it kind of is similar. So
Okay.
basically
So
it
like
was...
Judgment Day, basically.
No.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, this limbo was about moving from one set of like beliefs and understanding
That's real
and
nice.
not quite at another place, like in the middle, in between. So for a lot of me at the moment, it feels a bit in between like beliefs and whatever. And also like the last 2 years of
Yeah.
like lockdown.
So it's very much relatable.
Do you
Yeah.
think that now that you've sort of let go of those beliefs, you've created something even better than you would have, like, or that you have before?
I think it's more real and more honest because I think, a lot of my music was attached to things that I just never even questioned and I just like recited.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm questioning really deep things and I'm not scared to like ask those questions and have those conversations. So I feel like my music is more real.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So true spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Understand yourself in a
I love
different
that.
perception. Like
That's
you're
really
conscious.
Yeah, and I
of
love
yourself.
that music helps us to do that.
Yeah.
It really does, like, help
But when you think
explore.
about other types of music, though, subconsciously you're listening to it. It might not have the nicest of lyrics behind it, and it programs you to feel a certain way. You have to really understand what it's doing because it's $1 million industry. It's such a, but there's so much things deep rooted that we just accept and we don't really question it. Like, think about it. Sometimes if you're listening about songs like old hip hop, talking about killing people, that song is hard. And just like you're not really focusing on the lyrics, but it's subconsciously getting fed into you.
Yeah, and at the same time, there's something about music that allows people to express some of that dark, painful stuff that is real.
Or just the things that touch what, like when I listen to music and like I sing, it's like it's from my actual soul, like you can actually feel it. So it's nice that you've like let go of those barriers to maybe like get rooted to who you are on the inside, like who you actually are.
Yeah.
Like because I'm not actually. I was just going so spiritual now, but like, I'm not actually Maxine Scott. I am just the label of Maxine Scott. You know, like there's something so
That's
much
just a
more.
vessel.
That's just. Do you know what I mean? And then that, like, I feel like with music, it's so cool for just not just music, like creativity and art and you know any form of expression.
Yeah.
We're allowed to like just get a bit more to that, you know, place of eternal bliss.
Yeah, and like exploring stuff and having fun, and like in our culture it's so often that you have to like decide everything so young and that's it forever.
Yeah.
But actually I really think that it's much more about like growth and taking on other people's ideas and being challenged about stuff, and I love how music can do that. Like, you know, just even maybe the genres that you and I represent sitting around this table, like that's fascinating, and the sorts of things that we're producing. I just love it.
Isn't it weird that we make music that has come like, it's like an expression of us? So like Zico, you're like on the rap vibe. Conor over here is into like post-punk. Is it post-punky or just punk?
Yeah, well, stuff like that. Heavier stuff,
and it's
I
just
guess.
not, isn't it stuff like, how weird it's come all from our experiences growing up, like where we've come from, what our influences are, like who we are. It's like so
And it's
weird.
all relatable to a certain degree. Because I can listen to your song, I can listen to Conor's song, and I can still feel the
A
same
vibe,
vibe.
I think that's a good thing about being a musician. You like respect other people's music
being
as well, because you know the
open-minded
craft.
as well.
Yeah,
It's like linking it back to what we were talking about earlier about pie and having this, being able to have these conversations and listen to each other rather than speaking over. And that's what music does too. And through that and being a community together, even if we disagree with each other, as long as we're listening and trying to understand, I don't think there's ever anything wrong with that.
Exactly. Because some people are so closed off straight away. But
Like,
no.
no matter what side of the political, whatever social spectrum you are on, you need to take into account other people's views and understand that, because otherwise your views are completely unfounded.
Conor for PM.
yeah.
I'll vote for you.
Where do we sign up?
Don't know
Is
if I want
lawyer
that job.
present?
I mean, if anything's better than Boris right now.
Well, so something funny that we were talking about is that Conor brought up recently is how people act at gigs. And I thought we had such a funny conversation about this the other day that we might as well bring it back.
Yeah.
So, Conor, do you want to kick it off? Like, what
Like how I do.
personality at a gig?
It's the most annoying.
What's
Yeah.
the most annoying one? Oh, God. Oh, people who put their phones up the whole gig.
Oh my God,
and
that
talk.
is so true.
When she's filming a gig, she's not
But
listening.
it's like people who put their phones above their head with the flash on. It's like, one, there's literally lights in the venue and purpose for that. Two, that your video isn't going to be any better than anything the photographers are going to take.
Yeah.
So just live in the moment. And two, shut up. I didn't come here. I didn't pay to listen to your conversation.
While you're
That's the end of my
filming.
part.
That's really. I'm so glad you got
So
that off your
valid.
chest, Conor. I feel like we
I'm
need
sure
a bit
there are
more
more,
of that.
but
Yeah.
that's
He was
my
definitely
irritation
holding
of
on to
this
that
week.
one. No, it's so true. Like, I do it myself, but I'm like, oh no, I actually want to be here in the moment. Because when do I actually have a look at them videos?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? I never do.
It's
No.
not even like the fact people are videoing. Like, it's not like if you take a short video, it's fine. It's people who put their phone up the entire
whole
show.
ages.
Yeah.
Or like I see videos, because I don't go to these sorts of things, and that's not my thing. But like pop videos, and I'm sure people there are enjoying it. And I find that's my thing. I find hard is other people are just enjoying it in their way, which a lot of the time irritates me and makes me not enjoy it. But like those things, it's just phones. It's like
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I can't lie. I'm one of them people, but to a degree.
Yeah,
Because I
I'm
like to show my face, and then I can look back and I'll be like, because when I'm pissed and I'm watching something, like if I'm fully in my element, I'm yacked and I'm loving the music. I'm like, wee.
Yeah.
And then I record myself and I look myself back at it, and I'm just like, look at this dickhead.
Zico, can I just ask, what is yacked?
Yacked is the terminology from like Jamaica. Like it's a Jamaican kind of a slang of being drunk or under the influence or something.
Okay, thank you.
So if you're yacked, that means you're to a different level of drunk.
Okay,
So you're drunk and then you're yacked. You know?
right.
Whoa.
That's word of the
week
Word of
is
the-
yacked. We've all learnt something here today. What about the people at gigs who hold pints of beer and just spill them over people?
Oh yeah, or just start chucking it.
Or just
everywhere.
chuck it and dance with no like.
And then all the girls in the other corner are like, oh my God. Like, I'm so right now. Oh, guess what I'm terrible at? Like pretending that I know the lyrics. So I'm just like, I'm shouting the wrong lyrics, or like even just making them up.
Yeah, I do
But
that as
shouting
well.
them
But you want to
also.
just be in.
Yeah.
I know it. I love it.
You know, like
I do love
the
this
1-2
artist.
bars that you do know and just mumble.
Shout
the rest.
it
Yeah,
really
yeah.
loud and then
I just rhubarb and custard. Where's that? You know when they said if you say rhubarb and custard, it looks
you
like...
can make it look like anything.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
I don't think it works. I just think it's a
I'm
thing.
gonna try it
Yeah.
and see if anyone.
It's clutched me a couple of times. Like
Have you
when
tried that?
I used to sneak. So one time after when Carnival, I think it was like the last Carnival,
What, round here?
Notting Hill Carnival.
Oh, okay.
The big one,
Yeah, the nice,
If you haven't
cool
been
one.
Notting Hill Carnival,
It's amazing.
Connor, I might take you. I'll take you out.
Do
and
a
do show.
trip.
Oh my
Can I
God.
come?
Yes, it's so fun.
Is it going to
Anyway,
be back on this year?
I hope so.
Because they cancelled it for you.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
cancelled it for
Yeah,
so long.
time.
I like before Notting Hill Carnival, I wasn't even allowed to go out. Like that's crazy. So,
What
like,
do you mean? Like, because so
'Cause
much
that's how
time
young
has
I was,
passed?
yeah, so-
Wow.
So like last time after it finished, me and my mum and my auntie, we went to like a little club. Not a club, but like a pub club like, after it. And big people in it. So a bit of spit came out, but big people, like grown people. So they're like 25 upwards, yeah. And I'm 16, 15 around about this age, innit? I had to sing along like I knew this tune. Rhubarbs and custard all the way. And I was like, Mum, I swear I've heard this song before.
Oh, I need to
It's
try that.
funny.
That's
yeah,
good.
I've used it many a times just to not look like. Yeah. But what would you say you're like at a gig?
I'm that dancer type of guy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I get if the music's not there, I won't dance. So I just be chilling in the corner. But when the music's there, I'm on the dance floor. But my one ick, yeah, is that person who's so drunk. And they come up to you and you're like, you're a geezer. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you. Oh, what you they don't even know you from Adam. Yeah. And they just start coming the conversation. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's nice. Sometimes.
No.
Yeah,
It's not. No.
No, I feel you.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
see
That's
you
even
later.
worse than hearing someone
Yeah.
else talk to someone they know. It's like, I don't even know you. Why are you talking to me?
Zico, do they also have a lot of coffee breath going on and you're just like, no, thank you.
They have
Yeah.
Beer breath
they don't even
It's
beard breath. It's just
off the
Nasty.
face.
nasty breath.
Nasty
You know when
breath.
it's just like haven't brushed your teeth and you just
Oh,
alcohol.
What gigs are you going to?
Yeah, you need to hang out in some different places.
That's why I don't go out. Yeah.
Bad breath.
You need to take me out to places and I'll definitely,
You can come
Yeah.
up to London sometime with me and my oysters.
yeah, I'll actually will. That's a shout.
I just want to also say that, like, if you're not from Kent
Yeah.
or East Kent, there'll be lots of other charities maybe doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Youth
But
clubs.
also, if you are in, we talk a lot about Thanet, but actually I don't live in Thanet. So
Big
you
up.
can get involved as well as long as you're from
Absolutely.
East Kent.
Yeah.
And so if you feel like you can't because you're not in Thanet, you can just get
Yeah,
involved.
absolutely.
Just send us a message on
Yeah.
Instagram
Yeah.
or email us, whatever's best for you.
You love the email, don't you?
I don't use
email?
emails,
You
I don't
replied to
check it.
email.
We should get
But someone will.
Zico's question of the week. Set you up an email. People send in questions,
Yeah.
like a
Questions
support
to
line.
Zico.
Yeah.
Zico's support line.
That's a good one. I like that.
Exactly.
Zico, do you have a funny question of the week for us? Before we close off?
Okay. Give me a sec. I can't, funny.
We can just leave. We could leave the podcast on this question. To
Yeah,
make-
we
get
don't
people
answer
thinking.
it. We just leave
Yeah.
it, depending on what it is.
Or it can,
Yeah, or
Connor
we just-
can press
we
cut.
We can
Or we cut
keep
it.
out.
I've got a serious question.
Oh,
Go
no.
on.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think living in Southeast, wherever you are, but living in the UK, do you find yourself as privileged? Because even the bare minimal that we have, considering with everything what's happening
In the world.
in the world, do you find yourself as
100%
privileged?
we are. We're living in a first world country. Yeah. And like, look, like we're...
Or do you feel
touch
like
wood.
other places in the world should be to this standard in regardless? Because that's the whole thing. Like, privilege to you is someone else's not being privileged. But if we all had that as a baseline to be living in the world, do you find yourself privileged with all this stuff that you have to put up with?
Of course. Like, look, we're not in war. We've got a roof over our heads, and there is like stuff like poverty going on, and abuse. But like we said, we have communities, and people that are trying to help that. And I honestly wish that it was like that for more people. Like, there's a war going on right now. Am I allowed to say it's a bit deep? But there is. It's crazy. Do you know what I mean? And like, I know social media and the media blows up a lot of stuff, and we don't actually know unless you're there. But that's not happening here, and we've still got our hands and our feet, and do you know what I mean, and
But
loved ones. And,
was so subjective, I think, because we've been in a war for a long time, battling with all these like problems within our society, even though it's not to the point of like mass destruction or mass murders, but there's been a war against the institution for a long time. And
which
it's
will
not,
be ever going.
But that's the mindset. If you have it to be, then it will be.
True, but are we
the
doing
whole
the
thing.
thing? Are we doing the things then to stop it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing in ourselves?
The conversations. That's literally
true.
what's stopping it.
So
Because
true.
if you don't talk about it, you can't really shed your light upon it.
Yeah.
100%.
I think though, like on your question, Zico, like I think you can still be privileged though, and that doesn't mean you can't feel bad about things going on in your life.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people who know that they have privilege feel that because someone else has got something worse, they can't feel bad about the small things happening to them that make them feel bad. When actually that's just as important to your life, despite being privileged. It's just as important. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Conor. Yeah, I think for me, I definitely have become more aware of my privilege, especially when we're talking about things like racism, like really just getting an understanding of the fact that I will never understand what that feels like, and I need to learn and I need to do more. So that there's that sort of thing, and then there's also like one of my responses to your question is the thing of, for so long we've seen the UK as like the gold standard for life, when actually I see a lot of issues with the way that we do things. And I think we've got a lot to learn from other countries and other communities and the way that they look after each other. And I think somehow in the West, the white West is like centers itself as like the gold standard, when actually we need to humble ourselves a bit and learn from other people. So that they're kind of a couple of my thoughts in terms of privilege.
Especially England, though. Like, we have the history of the empire or whatever, that people still hold on to for some reason, which actually it's an embarrassing thing.
It's horrible.
It shouldn't be something people are proud of.
Yeah.
It's like, even like, I told my dad about it, and like an MBE means member of the British Empire and stuff like that. We still have that in our society, and it's not acceptable, really.
No.
So we just need to take from other places.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like, a follow-up question towards this, what do you feel like someone can do to change, to become better for the best for everyone?
Well, like you said, have these healthy conversations and research, like research into the history and like what's been going on and how to do better in one's own life, looking, like Steph said, at other cultures and how other people live, and be like, well, why is that not going on here in our, and what ways can you do and what things can you do in this society that, makes it a better place for everyone and all more inclusive.
I think for this week, our call to action on this note maybe should be that people send in any questions about things they aren't sure about, because everyone lives differently and it's okay to ask these questions. So if anyone has any questions about their life and whether things are normal or how to deal with different things, send them in to us. Like, I know we're not oracles, we don't know everything. We're just talking about from our experience, but maybe having that conversation could help.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
It just opens the conversations again, like I said.
Starts the conversation.
Absolutely.
I love
that are needed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, thanks for that, Z.
Yeah,
that was a
I
really
love
good
that.
question.
Well, let's try and make it on a positive note, before we wrap up this podcast. What has been happening in your personal life in general? Name something good.
Okay, I had a really nice holiday. I went away for half term and got a bit of sunshine,
where
which
did
was
you
just
go?
delightful. Greece.
Oh,
Yeah, that was just the I felt so happy. So happy. And okay, my final thing is that I helped my little 4-year-old girl dress a potato as Elsa for book week. That was like
Wicked.
joy of joys. It looked really crap, but we spent a long time on it.
How come a potato?
That's the school said everyone. That's what you had to do. We got a letter home to say every child needs to bring in a potato dressed as a book character. I was like, what?
What were the days of you dressing up? No?
Oh, they had to dress up as well. There was like a number of things.
Oh my God.
It was quite stressful.
They're stepping up now,
They
the
are.
schools.
I know.
It's all that funding.
It's quite a good idea though, like the because potatoes are cheap, so everyone can get involved. So that was quite cool.
Oh, that's cool.
It was quite inclusive.
That's crazy.
nice.
Anyway,
like,
that's
you have
my
a dress? Did you have to dress it?
She painted it, and then we made like a cape and like stuck the cape to it.
Cool.
I'll show you a picture
You need to
later.
see that picture.
That is so cool.
That's brilliant.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
it's been really
well, thanks
fun.
so much. And tune in for some more. Hopefully they're going to be as frequent, right?
Yeah.
Pie Factory Music is a youth charity in East Kent that gives young people access to creative opportunities and a community of support. Find us at piefactorymusic.com and on social media at piefactorymusic. This podcast has been produced by Buddy Peace and generously supported by Ramsgate Radio.